Bill Copper was a rogue agent and a fake truth guru's not saying he didn't have some good material. Bill liked to pretend the nations of the world were each a different team and didn't work together. Oh yeah, he said the only way to win is to vote. You sure you really want to read this? 2. 1. I don't look at other people's work. I'm not worried about anyone influencing mine, but I end up just picking it all apart and determining the person is lying and not simply incorrect. Sure, not everyone is lying, some people are just plain wrong, but if the person has 200k subs and each vid has 100k views and he is wrong, he is a liar, not a bad researcher. The most popular deception method I see in the fake truth guru community is lying by omission, that is telling truthful STSTEMENTS but leaving specific parts out in order to change perspective. To deceive by not saying certain things is exactly the same as intentionally giving false information. It's funny how nobody has ever touched certain subjects till I write an article and then all of a sudden it's everywhere, but they don't even get it right, and it's not by accident. Two people will eventually arrive at the same destination. BC there is only one truth. The paths they take to get there are not going to be the same. Everything branches off in so many directions it'd be near impossible for two people to independently take the same path. No fucking way. The good news is even the people that steal new work can't not fuck things up. It's outside their parameters to be honest, and it gives them away every time. I don't like videos. BC it takes too long to get information, if there is even any to be had. I just wasted a whole hour watching a video someone made from stealing my content. It wasn't bad except it only stays on the surface. It's like, oh look at this, it's fake. Wow, bitch please, it's all fake. Never trust anyone that uses Wikipedia almost exclusively. I have never linked a wiki page without a big asterisks first, and even then it's rare and only to point out a deception technique. The ironic part is I have gotten so good at reading the Ministry of Truth bullshit they end up being useful after all. I would still never credit them as a source or even secondary source. I grew up on Bill Cooper. Pale Horses Probes, one of the most inspiring and influential books ever written for the community. Cooper was one of them. Don't let him fool you. He's a Cooper for foo's sake that pushes and woes at your front door. He admits he only went to a single DMLA meeting, as if that means anything. He is lying by omission. True, he only went to one meeting, but he never said what transpired there. It only takes one meeting to show up and get your assignment, especially if your cover is a truther. He was naval intelligence. Those types of positions are reserved for generational operatives that have proven loyalty for generations. Now, that being said, I also believe he was assassinated for speaking out when he was warned to shut up. These people have a very specific set of rules. Birthright status is one of those rules. The untouchable class. If Cooper was the untouchable class, that means nobody could kill him no matter what he said. He was given multiple warnings to stop shooting off at the mouth. He was interfering to a point they had to do something, so they ran him off the road and he had his leg removed. 9/11 started a whole new phase. He was so close with the Osama narrative scam he called it out in advance that as a direct threat, he was given a fair warning to discontinue. Now here's the thing, if there was ever such a thing as a rogue spook, I believe he would have been it. He knew they were coming for him. He had his own radio program and published a book in mainstream alt outlets for foo's sake and gave lectures at universities all over America. By default that alone makes him an agent. Did you ever think about that? He labeled himself a constitutionalist and Christian. Not that there's anything wrong with it if it's your thing, but those two things are the biggest control mechanisms ever created, and both are works of historical fiction inserted into the narrative solely to keep people in invisible chains. The level researcher Cooper claims to be, he would have dropped those labels. At some point somebody superseded his birthright status, and once the warning was not heeded, that went right out the window and they took him out. BC he was threatening the parasite class as a whole. Cooper was a rogue agent. BC I think he thought he was helping, even though his ultimate bad guy scenario was the Freemason gig, as if they have really been around for thousands of years, infiltrating every single culture in world history. What a promo. That's what makes Albert Pike so special to them. He wrote a comprehensive, fluid narrative that explained the course of the mystery schools that spanned thousands of years and included every culture. It's all a load of crap. That's why he was so applauded by the inner circles that know it's all an elaborate con. What's the best, fastest way to ensure a piece of information gets out? Make someone promise to keep it secret, of course, and pretend only the most elite people in the whole world can access it. Morals and Dogma says it was only given to 32 Deg Masons. They say that to make sure everyone goes out and gets it. Cooper plays along, but I think he means what he says about trying to wake up the sheeple. He knowingly gave up his life. He says in his foreword that that single DMLA meeting is what landed him the cush officer position in naval intelligence, and that it was the JFK event that made him turn his back. What a load of shit. Sure, a military intel officer is placed in a top position and doesn't know operations of that nature happen commonplace. Real life doesn't work like that. His autopsy report says he was killed part by a heart shot and part by a headshot at point blank range. The bullet entered his ear hole and left scorch burns from the muzzle. Supposedly he shot and killed one of theirs first. I used to speculate that the cops killed one of their own and just blamed Cooper, but now I think it's more likely the second officer wasn't killed, he was reassigned. Who knows? The whole reason they give for being there is a tax evasion charge from 1998. So Cooper, knowing he has a mark on his head, opens fire on officers over some tax records. Ain't buying it. The Department of Public Safety are the ones that do the investigation, not that they would ever turn one of their own anyway, but I have written extensively about the Public Safety Committee, and whenever they show up they are lying. The pig that takes credit for killing Cooper is named Goldsmith. He himself was killed shortly thereafter during a motorcycle rally. He said he hit a gravel patch on a turn. Maybe. I laid my scooter down before taking a turn to fast on gravel, still have said gravel lodged in my elbow after 20 years. If he was leading a pack on an organized cop run, I doubt he would be speeding fast enough to wipe himself out like this is the whole story. Looking like that cop from Dukes of Hazzard, their fat soda bio given on his old radio program, Hour of the Time, goes more into his military background and also mentions he opened a fine art gallery in California, another dead giveaway. I read his book enough times as it took to damn memorize the whole thing while I was incarcerated. The publisher was some weird old news publications called the Illuminaries or something. They focus on channeling entities from different dimensions like the Ascended Masters of Saturn and the Orion Soul Complex. Yeah, one of them. They were kind enough to send me a complimentary magazine since I asked nicely and was locked up. I'm not sure who publishes them now, but I tried to order a copy for a buddy that was still in there and it is no longer printed in full. It probes never was, but now they admit to removing the whole chapter of the Elder Protocols of Zion. They say it is BC the protocols are fake, so Cooper would want it that way. True, they're fake, but not for the reasons they say. If you don't have a hard copy of Pale Horse, you will probes never be able to get one. William held the position of Executive Director of Adelphi Business College, Pacific Coast Technical Institute, and National Technical College. Mr. Cooper was the National Marketing Coordinator for National Education and Software. HOTT bio. There is endless evidence Mr. Cooper was shilling. Evidence does not equal proof, don't forget that. Any office of Executive Director of any college, plus any Marketing Coordinator for National Education is the same. He may as well be waving a big red flag. William Cooper, trustee, has founded Fair Harvest Trust, the Kaji News Service, Veritas National full-size newspaper, the Intelligence Service, Harvest Publications, and has helped over 700 low-power FM affiliate stations get equipped and on the air, including the station he manages as trustee for the Independence Foundation Trust, 101.1 FM Iago, Arizona, broadcasting to 7,000 people. Great, Truth Martyr was a fucking Harvard spook. Veritas. I just heard someone bring them up today. Oh, that guy, never mind, that's another file. I got you too, bro. Under his leadership, Harvest Trust ventured into the publishing trade. The first book under the Harvest Trust imprint was Oklahoma City, Day One by Michelle Marie Moore, the definitive classic on the Oklahoma City bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building on April 19, 1995. His first assignment was to write the cover story for the Oak bombing, the official UN official story. The conspiracy narrative. I never read it, but I'm sure I know what it says. It was a Harvard-sponsored project. That bitch has the triple threat M's in her name, it doesn't get any clearer. Cooper was head of the national marketing team from Harvard. His focus was marketing to the alt-news community. The Corbett guy did a good Oak cover story too, has no better. Shortly after the bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, Rush Limbaugh read a White House memo on the air during his broadcast which named William Cooper the most dangerous radio host in America. Mr. Cooper considers William Clinton's pronouncement the greatest compliment that he has ever received. Does anyone else see the hypocrisy here? Remember what he said about anyone at the top of a government danger list. Anybody that is ever called a danger to the Fed is part of the Fed, they only mention their own. They would never admit that power to anyone that was not one of their own to be considered a threat. By Rush fucking Limbaugh of all people. It might as well have been Alex Jones or Bill Hicks or whatever his name is. And what is the deal with them two bickering like two fuckboys all those years? Why would anyone waste so much time on a shill if they weren't one to call them out and move on? William Cooper's FBI file, promulgated by the investigation required by his security clearances while in military service, was one of those unlawfully in possession of the White House in what has become known as Flegate. Shortly after this discovery, President Clinton ordered all federal agencies to begin investigation, persecution, and prosecution of Mr. Cooper to shut him up. Spoiler alert, anything in the media with the suffix gate is fake. The FBI is fake too, stands for fake-ass bitch idiots. The Fed doesn't investigate anything unless they want it in the spotlight. You know how I know? Because they kill people that are legitimate threats, they don't investigate them. After years of filing FOIA requests and researching the IRS, William Cooper brought suit against the IRS in federal district court in Phoenix, Arizona to force the IRS to produce proof of jurisdiction and delegation of authority, which the IRS was unable to do. To short-circuit Mr. Cooper's attempt to reveal the true nature of the criminal IRS and to carry out the orders of the White House, the agency lied to a grand jury, not allowing William Cooper to testify, and secured indictments against Mr. Cooper and his wife Annie. This ploy successfully stopped Mr. Cooper from continuing his suit against the criminal IRS for fear of being arrested. This is the real world, Slim. It doesn't work like that. So you tell me he was so afraid to be arrested he stopped his mock trial against the IRS over fear of arrest? But yet he wasn't afraid to open fire on a bunch of pigs for only questioning him? Somebody is lying here. The FOIA is one of the biggest jokes they like to use. I can name 3 off the top that I have looked at and it's comical. The shit they say is exactly what the normie narrative says. MLK, Helen Keller, and Margaret Sanger FBI FOIA files were all released and each one is an elitist practical joke. His wife Annie is another point. I'll start here. Supposedly the couple had federal arrest warrants out for each of them, yet we're told Cooper feared for Annie's safety, so he sent her to her home in Japan till things blew over. So let me remind you, unless you are smuggled across the border, nobody with a federal warrant is leaving or entering the country. Liars. In 1998, Veritas and Harvest Publications was sold to Hallmark Creative Corporation along with the copyright and all rights to all written material produced or ever to be produced by William Cooper, including Behold a Pale Horse and Oklahoma City, Day One. Hallmark Creative Corporation has contracted to ensure this material is always available to the public. Hallmark The Christmas card PPL bought Cooper's work from Harvard. GTFOH. They will always make the material available BC. They want it available BC. It is a lie. Just like how they always intended to make the Albert Pike material available by pretending to limit access, they made Cooper's material available by pretending to kill him. Well, I still think they did kill him, not for the reasons why. William Cooper continues to champion the cause of truth and freedom for all peoples of all races, religions, and places of ancestral origin. William is Native American, English, Scotch, and Irish. He lives in Arizona, formerly with his beautiful Chinese wife Annie, daughters, Dorothy, little Alyson and their dogs, Sugar Bear, and Crusher. In March of 1999, William sent his family out of the United States for their security. He now lives and works alone with his 2 dogs, 1 rooster, and 1 chicken. When you see the words truth and people capitalized like that, it doesn't mean what you think it means. It's like how your official documents all have your name in all caps BC. It is a legal fiction. It could be a typo. Use discretion. I have come to understand the word others is an elitist phrase, a derogatory insult, raceless and genderless, an us versus them statement. That's what capitalized people means too, truth and freedom. Here is an interview by the rest of the team from Hot. They're talking to Cooper's BFF. Name is Shamley Doyle. It's a mocking joke play on words. He's a sham all right. Look at this crap. Cooper's site is shilling for the National Park Service. Those are the biggest perps of all time, creating and protecting fake sites and destroying real historic sites. I wish I had seen this long ago. I didn't know what I was looking for. Now you know too. I'm done with this shit. I lost my appetite. I still say Cooper was murdered for going rogue. We have only scratched the surface, but any more would only be kicking a dead horse. Here are the police and autopsy reports if you want to continue on. Hopefully I could provide some insight.